Spontaneous speaking video, number 12. You know, it's kind of weird having the camera like this instead of straight up because it's kind of hard to like look at y'all instead of at myself. Maybe I should flip it. I don't know. If I flip it, we're in the middle of something. Now y'all know. Anyway, growing up, I never really saw myself as attractive. Never really saw myself as handsome. I didn't think I was ugly, but I just saw myself as average, or even if anything, a little bit below average on the handsome attractiveness scale. And people at school absolutely did not help me think anything higher of myself. And so, you know, I was made fun of for a lot of things, being short, being skinny, being African, especially being dark. I didn't even know that I was darker than all the other people or whatever. And you know, it's funny, it was actually always the other black people that were making fun of me for being too dark. And all this time I thought that we were just the same shade, or maybe I was just like one shade darker, but none of the white people said anything. But nonetheless, there came a point, I believe it was 5th grade, where I remember this very vividly and faintly at the same time, but I'm going to describe the part that I actually remember vividly. I remember that we had these neighbors, Max and Aja, and I don't know, I was young, you know, and Aja, looking back, like, I don't think that she was like all that or whatever, but maybe it's just because I was a guy and I'm just naturally a show off whenever a female comes around. For some strange reason, as soon as my mom opened up the garage door, I saw it as an excuse to run up the driveway, grab my bike, and this is a story, by the way, that a lot of people do not know. But yeah, I got my bike and I immediately rode my bike down the driveway of our house. This is all in Ohio, by the way. And you know how on driveways they have like the straight part and the curves at the end? For some reason, I usually do this and I nail it. I went off of the curb, did a little spin thing or whatever, and didn't go so hot, and I fell crashing down onto the concrete floor, head first, face first, mouth first. Mouth burst. Yeah, it was kind of graphic. I didn't cry. That was one thing. But as soon as I got up off the pavement, then Aja, who was the girl that I was actually showing off for or whatever, and Max and my mom and my sister were all like, well, my mom was actually like going, wow, so that's basically Tree for saying, wow, look, you see now? And everybody else was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I just immediately got up and I went like this. And I walked straight down to our basement, which was the closest bathroom. And I remember looking into the mirror, seeing a whole bunch of blood around my mouth. And after I like rinsed my mouth off, it didn't even seem real when I saw this. Like, I remember saying like, no, that's not real. It's not real. But it was real. Looked in the mirror, all the blood was gone, and this tooth was basically broken and gone. 1/3 of it was gone. And that was a very miserable time for me. I went to class for the next, I don't even know how long I had to go like that, but it was a long time. Not like a year or anything, but it was probably at max 3 months with, and at least a month with my tooth like that. And I heard that it wouldn't grow back and all of that, and it was just crazy. And I remember that was a time period, this was 5th grade, where I was already being made fun of when I had my teeth nice and such for not looking the best. And I already had low self-esteem and insecurity about that. But then when when my tooth broke, it was all hell broke loose. Like like that self-esteem grew even worse. It just spiraled out of control. Thank God my parents, so kind, because not a lot of parents are able to do this. They invested in me going to the dentist. Dentist fixed it up, and it was good. And that was absolutely great. Actually, a few years later, I was swimming, and by the way, I'm telling all this stories for a reason, so just continue to bear with me. Hopefully you're entertained. But a few years later, I was swimming and actually hit my mouth at the bottom of the pool. And it didn't hurt or anything, but I just swam, hit my mouth slightly, got back up. Oh shoot, tooth is broken. Again, same spot, everything. And I actually don't remember. I feel like I got my tooth fixed pretty quickly at that time because I don't remember how long I'd went. I think it was during the summer. So maybe I didn't really remember that much embarrassment except for at church, where I was actually pretty popular. So that was cool. You know, we were all African over there. We were all dark-skinned over there. So I didn't have any reason to feel like I was less than anyone at that church. But yeah, I had my tooth broken, whatever, but I don't remember that much torture or whatever. However, pinnacle of today's video, I believe it was last year, and not many people know about this story, once again, but last year, the day right before I was returning home for break, I was eating in the cafeteria. It was me and Jamila, and I bit into a panini, and as I was eating it was a cheese quesadilla. Yeah, it was a cheese quesadilla, soft and everything. And as I bit into it, then I felt some crumbs in my mouth, and next thing you know, I like touched my tooth with my tongue, and it wasn't there anymore. Like, once again, for the last time, it had broken unexpectedly. And I just remember covering my mouth like this, getting up and going to tell the people at the cafeteria. I was actually hoping that I could like get a free tuition or something, or you know, just say, or probably even threatening like, oh, I'm going to sue you guys or whatever. But you know, that didn't really work out. They were just like, oh man, sweetie, just go home. Lucky you go home tomorrow, right? You know, let your parents know, get a dentist or whatever. Anyways, went home. Well, no. I went back to my room and everything, and after I revealed that my tooth was broken, all of that, and I was devastated. I was sad because I was returning back for a summer, back to New York, after my second year of college, with my tooth broken. And it's like, I'm not going through this again. And my mom was like kind of freaking out for me and everything. And like I said, even up till last year, even though Jamila was my girlfriend at the time, I believe that we were going out at the time, I was still insecure. And I feel like there's going to be a sense of insecurity with me for the rest of my life. But it's just something that you continue to battle every day. Anyways, I was still insecure to an extent. I still felt like I'm not all that attractive. I'm just not an ideal looking type of person. However, when that tooth broke, and even Jamila was telling me like, yeah, you look really different now, I was incredibly embarrassed. When I went back to church, then this was back in New York, I was kind of popular at this church too. I play the keyboard over there and everything. And, you know, I'm just a really outgoing type of person. And they were all even looking at me like, dang! And I remember, I'm a type of person that smiles a lot. And I just didn't even feel comfortable smiling anymore. And it was just so sad. It was a very, very depressing time for me. Everywhere I went, I felt like even when my mouth was closed, I just looked ugly. I looked like a hillbilly. There was times where my mouth would like open like a little bit like that. And since 1/3 of the tooth was gone, it looked like I only had like one tooth. And it was just ugly. It was just so, I could not bear how I looked anymore. And it's worse than when my hair is like all grown out and like messed up. Like right now I need a shape up or whatever, but like I don't even be caring about that anymore because I went through that time. All of that to say, when I finally got my tooth fixed this time, after about a month and 2 weeks of going through that tragedy, because everything's so much more different when you're older now and you're having to deal with that. It was embarrassing, guys. It was so embarrassing. Do not break your teeth. Don't try and show off for girls. Just don't. Just don't, man. When I finally got it fixed and I went to the dentist, it took like maybe about 45 minutes and all of that, and I was so cautious with it. But when I finally got home and I looked in the mirror and everything, and everyone was looking at me, wow, which tooth was it, and everything. And I just remember looking back in the mirror, and I'd only had it broken for a month and a half, or maybe a month and 2 weeks or so. Maybe I think that is a month and a half. But I was never as grateful to be back to how I looked before than at that time. And that taught me something. That taught me, going back to this title and back to the whole overarching message, that all that I just said was to illustrate to you how what I had been through actually taught me that, look, you could always look uglier. I wrote a blog on my site, and I'm going to put the link in the description like I do all the time. But this blog is called Dealing with Insecurities, and you may want to check out my blog, Special Treatment for Attractive People, as well, if you get the chance. I think that they're both worth the read. I try not to be boring, and I try to put like good analogies and illustrations in there. But my blog on Dealing with Insecurities, one of the main points that I made was that, honestly, I don't know why God made me 5'7" and not at least 5'9". I don't know why God created me to be so dark. I do not know why I don't have a movie star face, or why I can't build as muscle as fast as like a lot of other people do and all of that. But one thing that I do know is that the God who created beauty, the God who is the epitome of beauty, the God who is just absolutely magnificent in all of his ways, and he's also a God of precision. He created me. And I go a lot deeper into this in the blog, so you guys should definitely check it out. I even talk about how Jesus wasn't even attractive. That's crazy. Like, if you were to see Jesus today and you didn't know that was Jesus, a lot of y'all females, he's not the dude that was in the Bible stories or whatever. Like, a lot of y'all females would have just walked right past him as if he was just some average looking dude. He wasn't ugly, but he didn't have some type of glow around him either. He was just probably a 5 or 6 or 7. You know, he looked like an average type of dude. Shoot, Judas, even he was so average looking that Judas had to go and kiss him on the cheek, hopefully, in order to betray him, to point him out from the rest of the disciples. Because if Judas had not done that, Jesus was a basic looking guy. And it says so in Isaiah 53 itself. But that's the main thing that I wanted to address in this. And like I said, I want most of the cures for dealing with your insecurities to be in my blog, so I definitely encourage you guys to go check that out. I'm not going to really be addressing a lot of those here, but my main message in this video is to keep in mind that you can always look worse. Like, really, if you feel like you are too short right now, you could be shorter. If you feel like you're too dark right now, you could be darker. If you feel like your teeth are not as good or whatever right now, it could be chipped. Like, literally, there's always a way that you could look worse. And it wasn't until I broke my tooth for the 3rd time, hopefully I don't have to go through a 4th time again, oh my gosh. But it wasn't until I broke it again for the 3rd time and I had to go through that embarrassment that I realized, you know, that I was able to fully embrace myself as I am right now. That, wow, like when I got my tooth fixed, I went back to being normal. When I got my tooth broken, I downgraded. And then when I got my tooth fixed, I didn't like shoot up above where I was before. I just went back to exactly where I was, which I wasn't even happy over there. But when I came back over there, then I was so happy to be back. And it really taught me that we really need to value how we look. We really need to value and embrace how God has created us to be, because you can always look worse. You can always be worse. There's always worse out there. And once you learn to embrace what God has given you already, then I feel like that's where the most attraction comes from, because then you have this confidence about you. You have this type of swag that even if your exterior does not look as appealing, you'll attract the right type of energy because you're sending out the right type of energy. And I'm actually going to make a video about that, about the law of attraction. I watched something very interesting. I'm definitely going to actually watch it again and get back to you guys with my thoughts on that. But yeah, the energy that you send out is the energy that you're going to bring back to you. And if you're just sending out an energy of confidence and not conceit, remember the difference in past videos, but if you're sending out an energy of confidence and self-awareness and just humility and all of that, you're going to attract those same things right back to you. And I feel like that's value. That's value. You are a valuable person. You are pretty. You are handsome. You are all of the above that are positive adjectives describing out. Yeah, adjectives is the word that I'm looking for. So yeah, that's all I wanted to really say. And check out my blog, DEEZ2blessed.wordpress.com. There's a whole bunch of blog articles on there. And for this specific one, I definitely recommend dealing with insecurities. And check out the Treating Attractive People special or something like that. They're good reads. I really believe they're good reads. I try to write my blogs in a fashion that if I were not me and I read them, and I read them all the time to make sure that they're still appealing and everything, that people would still read it. I put pictures and such to keep your interest, and I just try to like be elaborate. Some of them are kind of long. I just try to be elaborate so that I can give you as much of the richness that I could possibly give you. And just like I put as the slogan on there, is guaranteed to be worth the read. So hopefully you guys take the time to do that. You guys enjoy it. Hopefully this video has reminded you of something, that you are beautiful and you should embrace yourself. Even men, you guys are beautiful, and not in a feminine type of way. And guess that's all. Done.